My name is Angelo Stellato. It's something that I'm very passionate about. It's always been woodworking. I've always done things with my hands, and custom cabinetry is a big thing for me. So life before my injury, I was very active. Of course, I was self-sufficient, but it brought me to a place where I wanted to learn new things at the age of 47, 48. I wanted to learn how to really excel in the area of a professional paint booth. It was a new position for me in my life at my age because I was actually having to work for someone else. But it was very gratifying to be able to take over a custom high-end paint booth when I didn't have the experience to do that and somebody actually believed in me to do that. Prior to September of 2019, I had severe back pain, which I thought was associated with working in the paint booth. Come to find out, I had contracted MRSA in my bloodstream, which ultimately found its way to my spinal cord. It had been there for such a long time, and the numbness that started in the pads of my feet slowly worked up between my legs. The infection had gotten so bad in my spinal canal that it had deteriorated so much stuff that one morning I woke up to use the bathroom and I fell flat on my face, and I just literally couldn't move. I was paralyzed from my chest down. My first thoughts minutes after not being able to move was, I'm a grown man that didn't understand that this possibly could have been prevented had I gone to the doctor and been checked out. But at that point, I was praying that I wasn't going to leave people completely disappointed in my decisions and the things that I had neglected in my life, i.e. my health. When I woke up in the hospital, the doctors came in and said, look, you have severe spinal cord damage. Right now, we're just trying to stabilize you with antibiotics and make sure, that you stay alive here. However, you're going to need to learn how to function moving forward, being a paraplegic. And that didn't resonate. I'll be honest with you. My first thought at that point was, at some point when I was well enough to leave the hospital, that I didn't have to learn how to live in a wheelchair. I would just be able to get up and move on. So I was in a real rough spot, and staring at that ceiling for 3 months and having to go through everything that I went through. It was life-changing. One of the major hurdles that I crossed, I was on a catheter, and the doctor came by one day and said, look, tomorrow we have to take your catheter out. And I'm thinking, well, why do you have to do that? I'm in the hospital. And he explained to me that we're going to have to take your catheter out because we're going to have to identify whether or not you're going to be able to urinate on your own. So the next day, I finally agreed to let them take the catheter out. They came in, they took the catheter out. And I cried and I cussed and I prayed. I'll be darned, after about, I think it was 18 or 19 minutes, I actually felt the urge to urinate, and I was able to grab the bottle and do it on my own. And at that point, that's when things changed for me, to understand that there's nothing that's going to get put on me that I wouldn't be able to handle. That's when I made the turn from self-pity to understanding that this is a fight that I can push towards, and really get on board with. I had major deterioration in T7-9. It was in the canal. It wasn't a severed by any means because it was due to a blood infection. But there was so much pressure they had to do a thoracic laminectomy to remove the pressure. So it affected anything below that point. Doctors' opinions and based off of scans, they didn't give me much of a chance to ever recovering because of how bad the infection was. When everything initiated, I had no feeling from my chest down. I had no control of anything from my chest down. And through therapy and constant work, I've been able over the last 3 years to slowly get back to where I can bear weight, So I am currently split time between a wheelchair and a rollator when I can manage it in my own atmosphere where I have things that I can hang on to. I can manage without the wheelchair because I can bear weight. I've never responded well to slow progress. But when you start understanding that the small victories, regardless if you have a spinal cord injury or not, are big victories. Being able to navigate my way through that was a huge learning curve. And being able to provide that type of like real carnal knowledge to somebody, like, look, everything might be going sideways right now, but if you can make any positive progress, even if it doesn't look like positive progress, it's progress. Real world barriers were the lack of accessibility for people in my situation. Things like trips to the grocery store, being able to get from A to B was difficult. When I got to B, there was also issues there. Things that I completely took for granted prior to my injury. The help that I had from the Spinal Cord Association in particular, Medicaid was a big help. The ramp that was put in at my house was a big thing. When my injury occurred, I was completely convinced that there was going to be a line wrapped around the building twice of people that were going to be there and come see me. We all have bandwidths and we all have things going on in our lives. And I found out quickly that I was completely self-centered and there wasn't a line of people all the way around the building wrapped around twice. My circle of influence and people that I truly believed in, it got shrunk down to what really meant the most to me, and that was people that were able to connect with me on that level and understand me as a person. So bathroom things have always been something that was hard for me to wrap my head around. I'm a 50-year-old man now, and I have AIDS, and it doesn't feel great to know that they have to help me in those areas constantly. But being able to do any more than I was able to do was a huge accomplishment. Transitioning from bed baths to having the proper setup, which is a huge task and undertaking to get your bathroom set up the right way, to be able to clean yourself properly in a shower setting. Those small victories that took forever allowed me to push on to other things. Can I go out and work with my hands? Can I set my workshop up in a different way now so that it's easier for me not have to bend over and pick things up, which I completely took for granted in the past, and still be able to be productive and get the gratification I need from being creative. One of the things that I'm eager to experience is really being able to be a fiduciary for other people that are suffering with spinal cord injuries or going through any type of transition that gets them to question, can they do it? Being able to get through this experience and being fortunate with where I'm at right now, it motivates me to at least want to share that message and express to people where I fell short and where I made mistakes because I thought I could do it on my own and I wasn't willing to ask for help. So there is support out there, and there are people that have been in similar situations that can throw an arm around you or give you some perspective. Nothing's too big to overcome, even with a spinal cord injury. And there is opportunity in every unfortunate situation. If I were to express one major point to anybody, it would be once they get through the acute stages of understanding the challenges that are in front of them, they need to manage their expectations. And I'm not saying don't set a goal. We can do things. There are plenty of people out there that have done amazing things, being in a wheelchair, not being able to move. But what it takes is the understanding to categorize things and manage things in a way that we can take these small victories and move forward. We can't do it alone. There are forces greater than us. And appreciate everything you have, whether it's small or big, and challenge yourself to a point where you get uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is a good spot to be in. A lot of people don't think that, but getting uncomfortable can produce some really amazing things.